Very special privilege and honor to be here in the North Country. The message is a very simple one. What librarians do is among the most important jobs that exists in our world today. What you do in library work is important, essential, indispensable to the people that we serve. So what you do, regardless of the kind of library in which you work, what you do is vital to changing this world, to improving this world. Clearly, one of the things that I think the state librarian does, or should do, or might do, or could do, is to help bring that message to everyone. A piece of paper and a scissors, and we purposely waited to give out the scissors for library groups. We just can't trust you guys in terms of how you might use a weapon when provoked. But without jesting, what I like to do is take that piece of paper and either cut it or tear it into 4 equal pieces. This is what you'll come up with. We'll fold it in half and then fold it in half again. So this is what you should end up with, a piece of paper like this. Everybody have one of those? Okay, the object of this exercise is for you to cut a hole in this piece of paper. Without cutting through the edge, there has to be a complete edge, but where the hole is large enough so that this can go over your head and rest on your neck. There's several ways to do it. Okay, now you can work together on purpose. See if that helps. Now, my request is always You know, I misled you, obviously, when I folded this in half, right? No, I didn't. So we're going to fold that in half. And from the folded side, I'm going to make a few cuts. Okay? Now I'm going to turn it the other way. And from the open edge, I'm going to cut in the other way between the cuts. Again, not to completely to the fold.
Okay, isn't that what I did? That's not what I did, right?
Okay, so this looks a little bit like a slinky, now. Now I'm going to turn it back again to the folded edge. And this is the part that gets complicated. I'm going to be sure that I leave this fold intact, the top one and the bottom one. But all the other, I'm going to cut, just snip the edge here. And you'll see why in a minute. And if I'm careful, and then we'll open this, and the end result is Now, why would I show you this parlor trick? What is this parlor trick all about? What's this about? How do I invite you with me to do what we might normally think is impossible to do? This is an exercise about possibilities. This is an exercise about how we take what might appear to us at first to be very limited resources, something impossible to do, and figure out how we exercise a little bit of brains, a little bit of resource, a little bit of collaboration to do what everybody else out there thinks is just simply impossible. That's the task that we have. You have it, I have it, and we have it together. The 3 R's, in fact, are an invention that I think was designed to do this trick on large scale. How do we come together to do what would be impossible for us to do individually? Impossible. Now, how do we ratchet that up? How do we look at all the opportunities there are for libraries to be indispensable? For what we do to be so important that the story about Bill Gates is a story that is just part of the parlance of the world. It's expected that libraries produce Bill Gateses. It's expected that libraries do the impossible. It's expected that whether we're in a school library or an academic library, a community college library, a special library, it doesn't matter where we are, that our job is to do that which others might think, and maybe on occasion we might think, is simply impossible to do. Every 4th grade child in our community can read at 4th grade level by the 4th grade. Now, if you're if you work in a school library, it seems pretty natural that's your job to help do that. If you work in a public library, if you don't do that, you're not going to have anybody to serve. Because if kids can't read by 4th grade, the evidence is pretty clear they won't read when they're adults. They'll never be readers. And if you work in the academic world, if tuition in any way supports your salary or what you do, you're not going to have any students. And if you do, they're all going to be on the remedial program. They're not going to be very helpful to us. So it seems to me that one of the elements of the bully pulpit, not to push too hard on this preacher theme, that I have is to suggest that there are things we need to do just because we're librarians, just because it's appropriate. So one that I hope you take home and think about is how can you individually, how can the library organization you work with others, whether it's the school districts, whether it's pediatricians, whoever it is. Simple goal. Shouldn't there be an expectation that a kid at 4th grade level can read at the 4th grade level? I bet you everyone in this room sort of takes that for granted. But we have thousands of children in New York State who cannot read at the 4th grade level when they're in 4th grade. The novel is, in my mind, a very beginning platform for the delivery of comprehensive information. As you know, it's a pilot program. Pilot, that means, how many years does pilot mean? When we move from pilot to permanent, it's been a pilot program forever, meaning that we haven't figured out a better way to fund it, but we need some permanent and reliable state funding, and we need to significantly expand it. It needs to be much beyond a foundation resource with basic databases. It needs to have lots of information. And if we want our state to have equity of access, whether you live in the North Country or you live in Manhattan, you should be able to have a comprehensive information system available to you. So I'm going to be asking for your help. I know John is on board to figure out ways that we can aggregate resources so we really can build a comprehensive information service. New York needs to lead the nation. We need to have not only on the one extreme a literate population of people, and we need to support their interests and activities, and on the other end we need to have resources that then propel that literate population to do great things in terms of individual productivity, quality of life, all the elements of community service that make New York the Empire State. So I've talked for a little while now. I hope I've enticed you to the possibility of doing that which might seem impossible, or that I do want to thank you very much for giving me a chance to talk with you this afternoon.